Your friend convinces you to explore the gates of hell beneath the Paris catacombs. You think you can escape? Think again. In this video, we'll unravel as above, so below, and expose why survival is nothing more than a fleeting illusion in the face of true darkness. If you enjoy these types of videos, consider subscribing and leaving a like. We kick things off with Scarlett, who's sneaking into an Iranian cave in search of historical treasures. It quickly becomes clear she's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, as the Iranian military is moments away from demolishing the very cave she's exploring. In a stunning display of movie logic, Scarlett manages to uncover the long-lost satanic statue in mere seconds, a relic her father spent his entire life searching for. But her triumph is short-lived, as the demolition countdown ticks dangerously close to zero. During her frantic escape, she stumbles upon a random guy dangling from the ceiling. Because, why not? The scene cuts to Scarlett, unnervingly cheerful as she gives an interview at an archaeological dig site in Paris. The apparition of a dead man hanging from the cave's ceiling where she unearthed a cursed satanic statue lingers unspoken, buried deep alongside whatever part of her should be questioning it. Scarlett remains fixated on her quest for the Philosopher's Stone, a legendary artifact said to transform base metals into gold and grant eternal life. Piecing together a trail of cryptic clues, she and her team narrow down its possible location. Scarlett and her cameraman Benji join a guided tour of the catacombs to scout the area. Their quiet investigation takes an unexpected turn when a stranger, seemingly loitering in the catacombs, overhears their conversation. As luck would have it, he knows of a group that can help them access the restricted section. The tour guide pulls their attention, insisting they stay with the group. When they glance back, the stranger has vanished into the shadows. Honestly, I wouldn't trust this sketchy guy either. But Scarlett? She's probably already planning to. They head to a club to track down Papillon, the guy who can guide them into the off-limits part of the catacombs. As soon as they arrive, a creepy-looking woman locks eyes with them, staring unblinkingly. For most people, that would be enough red flags to reconsider everything, but our protagonists, they haven't noticed a single one. They track down Papillon, their guide, but conveniently leave out the small detail that they'll be venturing into the literal gates of hell. Not that it matters, they don't actually believe in the whole gates of hell thing, chalking it up to superstition. They're not worried in the slightest, but they'll learn the truth soon enough. Of course, Scarlett is the only one who's seen any real proof, having witnessed the hanging man. But apparently, that eerie encounter wasn't enough to make her think twice. If anything, it only seems to have fueled her obsession, pushing her further into the unknown.
Suxi, what are the dangers that we're facing when we go down there?
They probably should have looked into the dangers a lot sooner than, right before going into the catacombs. We are off to a good start. As we will see later, they are extremely under-equipped. They brought some basic climbing gear and some flashlights once they get to the entrance.
I'm not going.
That is like the fifth red flag. Might want to call this thing off. As they head deeper into the catacombs, they run across that creepy chick that was staring them down at the club, and they just sort of walk past him like it is no big deal.
Some weird peoples down here.
These people have zero survival instincts. Scarlett suggests cutting a few hours off their trip by taking an unfamiliar route. A brilliant idea, right? What's the worst that could happen when they wander off the beaten path, with no clue where they're headed? Benji narrowly escapes, becoming a permanent fixture of the catacombs when the tunnel collapses right after they pull him through. After that, they come across a dead end that Poppy says shouldn't be there. Since nobody knows that they are down here, waiting for help isn't an option. There is no telling how long it would take someone to find them here. So with the dead end and the collapsed tunnel, they have no choice but to go down the so-called evil tunnel that they avoided earlier. As they approach the evil tunnel, they spot Poppy's tag scrawled on the wall. The problem? Poppy swears he's never been there. Judging by the genuine fear in his eyes, it's clear he's not messing with them. This place has him rattled. The strangeness escalates when they stumble upon an old, dusty piano in the middle of the catacombs. George remarks that it's the exact same model as the one he had as a kid. Even the same A4 key does not work. Scarlett hears a phone ringing deeper in the tunnel and, in a stroke of genius, decides to run off on her own to investigate, because nothing says great idea like chasing mysterious sounds in a haunted catacomb. The others chase after Scarlett and catch up to her just as she finds the source of the ringing, a landline phone, inexplicably functional in the middle of a cave where such a thing should be impossible. Because, you know, nothing weird about that. Scarlett picks up the phone, and the impossibility deepens. The man on the other end somehow knows it's her. If that isn't a giant neon sign screaming that you're completely screwed, I don't know what is. After the creepy phone call, this creepy asshole shows up and starts saying you should not be here over and over. The cruise guide seems to know who he is and thought that he was dead. He leads them further into the catacombs.
The way out is down.
That's not sketchy at all. They come across a hole, and instead of going down one at a time, they send multiple people down at once, which leads to Benji falling right on top of George. They are lucky the only injuries are rope burns on Benji's hands. They continue down the tunnels when suddenly they go deaf for a few seconds, followed by a demonic child screaming at them.
Should we be following him? I don't know.
I'd say no to all of this, but what choice do they really have? Even if they could climb back out of the hole they descended, every other exit is already collapsed. The odds here aren't looking great, and by not great, I mean downright terrifying. After cracking a puzzle, they stumble upon a dead man who, inexplicably, hasn't decayed despite being down here for who knows how long. Because nothing screams everything is fine like a perfectly preserved corpse, undeterred, they press on, swimming through a water-filled tunnel that leads them straight to a treasure room. After Scarlet takes the Philosopher's Stone, Poppy's crew can't resist going for the other treasure in the room. Big mistake. The ceiling collapses in a violent cascade of stone and dust, yet somehow, by sheer luck or twisted fate, no one dies. This time, Sui's arm is crushed in the chaos, but Scarlet sprinkles some of the stone's dust on the injury and like magic, it's healed instantly. Unfortunately, La Taupe gets separated from the group during the collapse. They decide not to attempt a rescue, fearing it would trigger another cave-in. I can't help but feel bad for La Taupe. This is the second time Poppy's left him behind. Some things never change. Scarlet cracks the movie's most crucial riddle, revealing yet another hidden passageway directly below them. Without hesitation, they toss a rope down the dark shaft and begin their descent, plunging even deeper into the unknown. They arrive at an entrance ominously marked with the words, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," the infamous inscription from Dante's Inferno, said to adorn the gates of hell. They come face to face with La Taupe, which should be impossible since they left him behind at the earlier cave-in. Honestly, I'm convinced he's been dead this whole time, deliberately leading them straight to the gates of hell. This time, though, he turns violent, launching himself at Susie and brutally smashing her face in. Desperate, they try using the Philosopher's Stone to heal her, but it fails, leaving them to grapple with the horrifying reality that it's useless here. They encounter yet another hole they need to descend. As the others begin making their way down, Benji waits for his turn at the edge. That's when he hears it, a strange, unsettling noise echoing from the darkness behind him. George catches sight of his long-dead brother submerged in the water and immediately loses composure, frantically trying to rescue him. But as he reaches out, the ghostly figure vanishes, leaving George reeling in confusion and anguish. Next, they stumble upon a burning car in the depths of the catacombs, with a figure inside that Poppy seems to recognize. He panics, screaming, "It wasn't my fault," as the figure drags him into the car. In an instant, both Poppy and the car vanish. Seems like this was yet another person Poppy left to die, and karma finally came to collect. I swear if you say that one more time, I am going to turn this movie around and we are going home. As they press forward, they come face to face with the Grim Reaper himself, an embodiment of death looming in their path. While they're frozen in shock, distracted by the terrifying figure, George is attacked from the back, his neck savagely bitten by a wall zombie. Scarlet and the cameraman frantically drag George away from the attack. As he lies bleeding out, Scarlet desperately tries to use the Philosopher's Stone to save him, but once again it fails, offering no help as his life slips away. Scarlet suddenly realizes that to end their nightmare, she has to return the Philosopher's Stone to where she found it. With no time to waste, she speed runs her way back through the labyrinth, even scaling the hole Benji fell down earlier. Realistically, there's no way she could manage that climb, but hey, movie logic wins again. As Scarlet crawls through a grotesque hallway filled with blood, something grabs her and violently drags her under. She thrashes desperately, somehow managing to fight her way free and claw her way back to the surface. It's pure adrenaline and sheer improbability keeping her alive at this point. Just as Scarlet nears the stone room, she's confronted with a chilling sight, her own lifeless body hanging from the ceiling. Scarlet finally places the stone back in its rightful spot, and as she makes her way back to George and the cameraman, she spots the hanging man once again, the same one she saw at the beginning of the movie. To her horror, she realizes it's her father, a ghostly figure suspended in time, tied to the very curse she's tried to escape. When Scarlet reaches George and the cameraman, she somehow heals George's neck wound by kissing him. Yeah, I'm not sure how that works either, but I guess returning the stone somehow gave her mystical healing powers? Because why not? They come across yet another hole, and the only way to survive the massive fall? Admitting guilt for their past sins. Somehow, doing so allows them to survive a fall that should have been fatal. Obviously, if any of us were in this situation, we'd be completely screwed. But hey, they've got plot armor. They eventually find a manhole cover that somehow leads them back to the surface, despite the fact they were over 1,000 feet underground. It's one of those moments where logic just takes a back seat, and they get an almost comically easy exit from an otherwise impossible situation. Well, what do you think? Could you survive a trip through hell? Let me know in the comments below. And if you made it this far into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And remember, don't wake up the Grim Reaper with a flashlight.